Hi, welcome to this video. In this video, we will style the button of home section. Let us do it. We have several buttons in our Vesco project. We have a button for home section. We have a button for about section. And we have buttons for pricing section. And we also have a button for contact us form. This is how they should look like after adding CSS. If you observe, these buttons have a look of flat buttons. In modern web design, buttons like these are called ghost buttons. Ghost buttons are transparent and empty buttons which have basic shape forms such as rectangular, and they are generally bordered by a very thin line, while the internal section consists of plain text in a light font. They are best suited for websites that have flat user interface. Let us design these buttons. I'll get back to the code editor. Before I start coding, I want to install a very important brackets extension. If you notice, our code is not very well formatted. We have some extra spaces and the code is not properly indented. We can quickly format our code using a brackets extension. The name of that extension is Beautify. Let me install that extension. I will go to the extension manager and I will go to the available extensions. In search box, I will search for Beautify extension. This is the extension I am looking for. I will go ahead and I will install it through this install button. It has been installed. I will close these windows and I will go to the debug and I will reload brackets code editor with extensions. Now let me show you how we can format our code. Select all of your code and just right click and select Beautify. And it will format all of your CSS code. As you can see, there is no more extra spaces and it has indented all of the code for us and it has removed all the extra spaces. I will do the same for the index.html file. I'll select all the markup inside index.html file and I'll right click and I'll select Beautify, and it will format all the HTML markup for us inside the index.html file. Please go ahead and install this extension. It will help you to format your code. Now I will get back to the buttons design task. I'll create some space inside the Style Dot Css file. Okay, let us design the buttons. We need to first look at the HTML markup we wrote for this button. I'll go to the index.html file. Inside the index.html file, we have a div and the ID value for this div is home-btn. Inside this div, we have anchor element which has bootstrap predefined classes for buttons. The btn and btn-lg are bootstrap predefined classes which provide us basic button styling. Let me show you these bootstrap classes inside Chrome Developer Tools. I'll right click this anchor element and I'll select inspect and it will open Chrome Developer Tools for us. For some reasons, when we open Chrome Developer Tools in live preview mode, the live preview mode stops working. This is something which needs to be fixed by brackets developers. Okay, I will maximize this browser window and we will look at Chrome's Developer Tools. I'll refresh this web page. As we can see that we have some basic CSS applied to this anchor element using bootstrap predefined classes, and we can see these bootstrap CSS classes inside the style pane. But we need to customize these buttons for our Vesco project so we can have a look of ghost buttons. Let us do it. I'll close this browser window and I will open it again in a live preview mode. I'll go back to the style.css file. As I said before, we have several buttons in Vesco project, and if you notice, they share some common style. We have button on home section with white border, and when we hover on it, it has white background. We have button on about section with blue border, and we see blue background color when we hover on it, and it share common style with home button. We have buttons for pricing section, and we have button for contact us form. The point is we need to create a general CSS class for these buttons, which will have all the common style in it, and it will save a lot of time for us. Let me show you how we can create general CSS class for these buttons. I'll get back to the code editor. I'll add comments for buttons. It will be generic section for all the buttons, and we'll write all the button CSS under this comment. Okay, first we need to create a general CSS class which will be applied to all the buttons in Vesco project. And now I will show you how we can create classes inside Style Dot Css. To create a class inside Style Dot Css, we use dot, and after that we write the name of the class. In this case, the name of the class will be btn-general. And then the opening and closing curly braces. Next, I will create CSS class for white button. Dot btn-white, opening and closing curly braces. Before we add CSS to these classes, let me first add them to this anchor element inside the index.html file. I will go to the index.html file, and I will add custom classes to this anchor element. I will add btn-general class and btn-white class. Now we have added these classes to this anchor element. Let us add CSS rules to these classes. I will go back to the style.css. I'll start writing CSS rules for btn-general class. I'll add the border color property. And the border for this button should be white, and the hexa value for white color is #FFF. The border color property sets the color of an element's border. Next, I will add the border width property. And the value for this property is 2 pixels. It will create a 2 pixel border. And we need to remove these rounded shapes, and we can do it by setting the border radius to 0. I'll add the border radius property, and I'll set it to 0. Now you can see that the rounded shapes are gone. We need to create some space inside this anchor element, and for that we use the Css Padding property. I'll write the Css Padding property, and we will add the top space to 12 pixel and right space 26 pixel, bottom space 12 pixel, and left space 26 pixel. And you can see that it has created a space inside this anchor element. And I'll set the font size of button text to 16 pixel. I'll write the font size property, and the value for this property will be 16 pixel. And I'll increase the thickness of font for button text, and we can do it using font weight property. I'll write the font weight property, and the value for this font weight property would be 400. And text for all buttons should be in uppercase letters, and for that we can use text transform property, and the value for this property would be uppercase. This general button class will really help us while creating other buttons. By this way, we will not repeat ourselves and will not write the code over and over again for other buttons. It is always best practice to create general CSS classes for your elements which share common style. Next, let us write some CSS for this button-white class. First, I will move this border color CSS rule from general button class to white button class, because it has white border value and it will belong to this white button class. And I'll set the color of text for this button, and the color for this button should be white, I mean the text color. I'll write the CSS color property, and the value for this would be white. Awesome, looking great. Now we need to write the CSS for the hover state of this button. When user mouse over on this button, it should show the white background, and we will also change the color of text on mouse over. And for that we use the CSS pseudo classes. I'll write btn-white, and then I'll write colon, and then I'll write hover. The hover selector is used to select elements and apply CSS when you mouse over them, or you can say the hover CSS pseudo class is applied when an element has mouse over it. And after that, I'll add the CSS focus pseudo class. I'll write btn -white and then I'll write colon and then focus. The focus selector is used to select the element that has focus, or you can say the focus pseudo class is applied when an element has received focus, and after that opening and closing curly braces. Now I will add CSS rules when this button has mouse over or has received focus. The background color should become white on mouse over. I'll write the CSS background color property, and the value for this property would be white. Now we have a white background on mouse over. Right now the color of text is black and we need to adjust it as per our color schema. And you know we created a color schema in choosing colors lecture, and we added these colors at the top of this style.css. Let me show you. This is the color schema which we decided to use for Vesco project. We have greenish blue color, we have steel gray color, we have blue bionics color, white and black color. Let us use this steel gray color for our button text, so it will be consistent with our heading colors. I will copy this color code and I will add the CSS color property for hover state for this button, and I will assign the color code of steel gray color for this color property. Looks great. Now we have a good looking button. We will adjust the button size and the font size of this heading in responsive layout section. Okay, we just finished styling the home button and things are getting shape, right? If you have any question, please ask me. I'll save the project files. In coming videos, we will add some effects to this home section like parallax effect and animation effect. I'll see you there. Thanks.